Today, we're going to cover an important mental model I've used to completely disrupt my career, moving from a civil engineer to literally running a tech company. But it starts with accepting that you're bored or burnt out. Figuring out what you want to do with your career is one of the biggest decisions we have to make. We know virtually nothing about the nature of the work we get ourselves involved in until we're in the thick of it, and if we're truly lucky, will it then align with our expectations? Most people spend about 280 days a year at work, which means if you're awake, you're probably at work, and yet so many of us feel overwhelmed, bored, and stressed at this place that we spend so much time with, living for the weekend and dreading Monday. When I entered the workforce as a bright-eyed civil engineer coming out of school, a decision I made when I was a sophomore in high school, I was convinced this was my identity, this is what I was meant to do. The idea that I could make money doing something that I studied and loved was extremely exciting. So why did I eventually hate it so much? When I started, getting to a deadline and working late nights and all the projects was exciting, invigorating, even energizing, but after a few years, it felt like a grind. I didn't really enjoy it. They didn't fill me up the way it used to. I didn't even understand why until I changed careers a few years later, relegating 8 years of schooling and work to a few bullet points on a resume. My energy was depleted, my passion was waning, and this career I looked forward to for so long was dying because I was bored. But the same thing can happen on the other side of the spectrum. If you become overwhelmed with tasks and burdened with projects that aren't exciting to you anymore and there's just no time to even breathe, you might grow apathetic, even resentful of the work that you once loved. So if we take this spectrum, boredom and being overwhelmed, professional satisfaction lies somewhere in the middle, creating a balance between how bored you are and how much of a challenge you decide to take on. I'm a huge advocate that the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. Taken to an extreme, this idea might make it sound like you should stay wherever you are and make the best of any situation you're in. But I'd like to convince you that the grass in question isn't your job, your team, or your company. It's you. Escaping boredom and managing overwork isn't anybody's responsibility except yours. But where do you start if you're feeling so bored you don't even care, or you're overwhelmed with work to the point that you don't have time? If your soul is telling you you're in the wrong role, then the first step to do is a little self-discovery to figure out what really lights you up, and then get yourself on a connecting flight. You don't have to land on the destination of what this world looks like for you, but you should at least get to a point where you can eventually draw a connection to that. I left civil engineering because my boredom led me to discover that I liked writing code. I learned that civil engineering wasn't the path meant for me because it wasn't infrastructure design that lit me up. It was solving problems. I loved solving problems. Engineering is problem solving in a logical order. And that's actually the root of what lit me up. So I didn't have to stay in civil engineering to stay aligned on this path. My coding hobby led me to discover I also like really fast changing environments, which naturally led me to say, maybe a career in technology makes a lot more sense for how I'm wired and how I'm designed. Naturally, this led me to trying anything at all in technology to figure out if this is the professional adventure that makes sense for me. The temptation, especially when you're young, is to try to start and land in that perfect job, but making assumptions about what you're gonna like, dislike, and the different facets of the job is probably what's going to get you into the mess of being in the wrong place in the first place. So it's better to start a little more general about the different types of things that you enjoy doing, and then try pursuing something that's related to that. So now let's talk about what to do if you're bored or burning out, but you do feel like you're generally in the right place. First, it's important to recognize that burnout is often associated with working too much, but burnout actually isn't from working too much, but usually more from giving up too much of the things you love doing, which comes with a hectic schedule. So you have to ask yourself, am I doing a lot of the things that don't really align with what I enjoy doing? Did the nature of my job or responsibilities change or shift in such a way that now I'm no longer fired up at what I'm doing? You see this a lot of times when people get promotions. They're now managing people instead of doing the work that they were good at, and they end up being a pretty terrible manager, even though they're really good at that work. And it's all because of this misalignment between the things that fire them up and the responsibilities that they have in front of them. This is why it's doubly important to find a culture and a company that wants to align your talents and interests with their outcomes. The more that you're happy to show up to work because you're doing things that you love to do, the better the work you're going to do. And a company that respects that and recognizes that in its employees is a much better place to work at than someone that's just literally just trying to stay above water, and they'll fit you in wherever they can, because that's especially with volunteers, that's how you lead to burnout. By making people do things that they don't want to do. Let's say you like what you do, but you're a little bit stressed out and you're overwhelmed. I felt this way when I was an intern. There were people, places, politics, acronyms that I didn't understand. My advice for anyone starting a new role is to carry a pen and paper with you everywhere you go. Anytime you hear something that you don't know about, you're confused, whether it's a well-known piece of technology or some tiny little project in the past, jot it down. And then at the end of every day or the end of every week, find someone you trust, sit down with them, and work your way through the list. Just say, these are things that came up this week that I don't quite understand, and I'm wondering if you can help me figure out some of this stuff so I can be a little bit better at my job and understand the context of what we got going on here. Ask the stupid questions. Stay completely curious. The worst thing you can do is pretend you have everything together when you clearly do not. Eventually, you'll be found laughing at a joke that no one told, and the embarrassment from that is going to be 20 times worse than asking an innocent question because you just aren't sure what an acronym means. Building a sustainable, interesting career is a mindset, not a job description. Here's what I mean. You can think of yourself as one of two ways. One, you're an employee who takes orders and does the whims of the company. Or two, you're a talented, professional adventurer seeking their latest quest. If you let your role define you, you're leaving your professional satisfaction up to the whims of a corporate machine that will take advantage of your nonchalance. But if you're the talented adventurer, then you're creating great expectations for yourself to set the table the way you want to see it. You're taking complete control over your destiny and your journey by being a lot more intentional about the challenges you take on that help you grow, and by removing the boredom from your day-to-day work. I'll leave you with this. Don't let the alleged security of a stable job trap you from exploring opportunities that allow you to grow. The good enough lifestyle takes dreams to the grave. If nothing else, if you had to spend 260 days a year doing something, why not make the most of it? Your personal growth, your ambition, your challenge, your ability to become a better version of you, well, thank you for it. As they say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. I hope some of that was helpful, useful, or insightful. I'll see you in the next video.